Hello common people, this is Common Guy Reviews and I am your lovely host, Pepsi. So, all good things get taken by some twat and get turned into a pile of rubbish? Okay then, An American Werewolf in Paris is a 1997 comedy horror film directed by Anthony Waller, screenplay by Tim Burns, Tom Stern and Waller himself. It follows a concept and is a sequel to the John Landis 1981 movie An American Werewolf in London that we reviewed last week. The film is an international co-production between companies from the United States, France, the Netherlands and Luxembourg. A distributor this time is not Universal Pictures but Buena Vista Pictures, like it really won't matter at this point, so let's get on with it. We opened the movie pretty well. A mysterious gentleman is running in the rain towards a taxi to escape something that is following him underground. Suddenly he trips and gets dragged into a sewers as a taxi driver that runs to help him turn around in horror. There ends the good part. Next scene, Andy McDermott with his friends Brad and Chris travel via train towards Paris. These dudes are thrill seekers and stereotypical American young adults that look like they missed some high school themed movie. First thing they do is that they sneak into the Eiffel Tower where Andy, previously slightly provoked, wants to bungee jump from the tower. Suddenly they hear someone else arriving and our friends hide. A lone woman steps on the railing, crying and getting ready to jump. Andy tries to stop her, instantly falling in love to her on sight, which is pretty weird on itself, taking considering to the situation. She then falls and our hero grabs her, landing her safely on the ground and then hitting himself on the head while bouncing back up. Next scene is in the hospital as this movie tries to imitate the last one, and Andy is surrounded by his friends who give him a shoe this woman left behind. What a surprise, she works in the hospital, and then we spend next moments with Andy trying to get to know her and get into her pants. Later they end up on her doorstep, but instead of her they meet Claude, a bald weird man who invites them into this full moon party. And now, to speed run into the action, they go to the party, one of the friends go and search for the girl now named Seraphine, finds her locked up, she punches him and goes to rescue Andy, as it revealed that this weird group are actually werewolves, who lure foreigners and such into the room where they kill them and eat their hearts. During escape, Claude bites Andy, and then he is also turned into a werewolf. Rest of the movie is just whimsical adventures and humor that sometimes makes you laugh and sometimes don't. Towards the end, the plot moves from Andy wanting to date Seraphine to them trying to cure their werewolf forms. Claude is a werewolf supremacist who thinks that they should rule the world, yada 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 yada. Movie is labeled as horror comedy, but in this instance the horror is non-existent. Like I said in the last review, if you don't respect both sides of this, you are not going to make an impact, at least with the horror part. So, what else did this movie ruin? Well, a transformation were a CGI mess. Notably in the 90s this CGI was a bit revolutionary because it actually shows their hair or fur or something, but it really doesn't age well looking back today. They even had this werewolf suit made for an actor that was lying died in bed trying to be cured from this curse. But when they killed people and moved a bit more, they were identical rough CGI models, which didn't impress me at all. Compared to the Werewolf in London, this one is lacking every bit of gruesome body horror part it had. Now what it did good? Well, if you look at this movie as a comedy, it has some funny scenes in it. For example, imitating the last movie, people who are killed by a werewolf is cursed to wander this earth in limbo. Their makeup was pretty good. They even joked about it how one of the victims tried to alert people looking for Andy by whistling, but her ripped up cheek just spurted blood and didn't make any sound. Plugging the hole, she then popped her eye out, which was also a bit funny. Also their makeup wasn't a half bad, it actually was quite well done. However, there was Seraphine's mother, who was supposed to be dead a bit longer, appeared in this really amateurish makeup where she didn't really look old and rotten, more like a spooky dead person makeup for a neighborhood Halloween party so kids wouldn't be too scared. So I judged them for a bit because they can do a good makeup, so why some of it is completely lacking. Also there was a lot of things that were weird. After the party and all shenanigans, Andy was being followed by a detective. But when we first see this detective, he is in a coffee shop with a dog. Next time he is disguised as a tourist looking for souvenirs without a dog. But in the next scene again he has a dog with him that appears from nowhere. In the end they kill Claude and lift the curse, Andy marries Seraphine and they live happily ever after. In the nutshell, this movie is so 90s it should be called a Werewolf in High School Musical. They even had Mash Mouth playing, rest in peace King, and it didn't feel like a respectable movie to be called sequel to the Landis movie. Puppets existed, but were rarely used. And best puppet was this detective's dog who was sadly killed by a transformed Andy and looked absolutely hilarious when it was picked up by its tail. This was my review about an Werewolf in Paris. If you look for a light-hearted 90s comedy with a bit of violence and nudity, sure, this may be for you. But if you are looking for a spiritual successor for an Werewolf in London, you ain't finding it here. This was Common Guy Reviews and I am your lovely host Pepse, and next week we are returning to our howling friend one last time. But now it's the ripe year of 2020. Can the modern day save our furry fella? This time, is a werewolf in a good movie? To find out, tune in next Common Friday to see another Common Review. Goodbye.